Hello and welcome. This is the Hustle Over Everything podcast, where we unite hustlers and we celebrate the journey to success, giving valuable tips, strategies, and tactics to become better entrepreneurs and better people. I'm Alex.
And I'm your main man, Ono Sinde.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And today, man, we actually have a real treat for you, man. I'm actually super excited for this podcast. We're interviewing Cheryl today. Man, before I even get into it, let me give you a quick intro. Cheryl Sutherland experienced something that many people feel, knowing that there is something more and having trouble discovering it. Taking a risk, she left her job, her 9 to 5, and focused completely on building her self-confidence and nurturing her inner gifts through journaling, reading, and working with her affirmations. It was then when she rediscovered her passion was to uplift and support others in seeing and knowing the very best in themselves. She started her personal growth company, PleaseNotes, filled with excitement and drive she didn't know was possible. Man, PleaseNotes is an affirmation-filled book, um, journal, sticky notes, a whole brand around affirmations. The idea for PleaseNotes came when the founder, Cheryl, was in a weird transition of her life. She just quit her corporate job and knew she wanted to start something that fulfilled her. However, she also knew that her self-confidence wasn't in the place where it needed to be. She decided to work on herself through using affirmations, journaling, and delving back into her personal growth practice. By reinforcing who she really was and getting clear on who she wanted to be, she realized that it was personal development that she had been in love with. She created Please Notes and has been a success. It's been featured on Forbes, Fast Company, HuffPost, InStyle, and a lot more. She's born in Calgary. She's a true Canadian. When you're born in Calgary, you automatically get stamped Canadian. And her adventurous spirit was allowed her to travel all over the world, experiencing growth in her personal work, and her life took a huge shift. Owen, what do you think of the pod?
Bro, my brother, Alex. Yo, you know what? This conversation with Cheryl, it's one of those ones that it just felt like you're talking to a homie. You feel me? It just felt like it's three of us just chopping it up and talking about positivity, talking about the law of attraction, one of my favorite subjects, and manifesting the dreams that you want to manifest. And her just talking about her journey to like building her business using, her own affirmations, and which is just powerful, because as humans, they say we only use 2% of our brains, right? Actually, not 2%, but we use less than 10% of it, right? So having these conversations was really exciting. And also just talking about like the whole Black Lives Matter and everything going on and all the stories and the things she's doing, creating the docs. I mean, I can go on, but overall, I was very happy with this conversation, man. I even forgot we're podcasting. It just felt like we're just three homies chopping it up. Yeah.
That's a
What do you
100%
think?
fact. I agree. It definitely felt like the homie. We met. This to give some backstory for the audience. We met twice at two FreshBooks events. I think like FreshBooks is like a continuous theme throughout the pod.
You mean I went through FreshBooks, bro. Chris,
FreshBooks. I think Chris. It was Eden.
Yeah.
I think that's and Please Notes as well, Miss Cheryl. So yeah, FreshBooks has been the connector, most definitely. And the conversation was great. She gave a lot of value around personal growth, around her experience in LA versus growing up in Calgary, growing a business, the economics around it, making sure manufacturing is right, making sure the ins and outs. One thing that I found interesting though was Kickstarter as well. That was kind of like a pivot that
was a
took.
big gem. You know what I'm saying? We weren't really going in there, but the gem she dropped, like also I've seen Kickstarters fail, and I've seen the successful, but in the success is a failure baked within it. So talking to her about it was really eye-opening.
Most definitely. I really liked how she broke down what makes a valuable Kickstarter. One thing that really stood out was her attention to story, and attention to the value that story gives people, and that's like wrapped into her quotes and her whole personality. and that kind of shapes the brand that she has, you know. So yeah, it was a very interesting pod. I can't even wait to let you guys hear it. So let's jump right into the next segment.
Let's do it, bro.
So, business tip of the week. So this is going to be an introduction into Facebook ads. Because if I was to try and fit Facebook ads into one business tip of the week, it would be one entire podcast, maybe 3 podcasts. So just something I just want to focus on in this case is the power of Instagram stories. Instagram stories, when it comes to Facebook ads, is one of the most underpriced platforms for Facebook ads currently. It's the easiest way for someone to opt in and give a quick story to their consumers. So one thing I'd like to suggest is when you're looking at doing Instagram stories, there's a few things. One, create the content native to the platform. So when you're creating the Instagram stories, make sure you're using the proper proportions, the text and stickers that match Instagram stories. Also make sure you're using HD content that promotes people to actually swipe up and communicates the story. A lot of people miss these small points that make a big difference. Also, use Instagram's features. You can now use polls. You can now use the GIFs. You can now use music in the Instagram stories ads. Also, you can have several stories in the ads. So this is a quick tip. It's a quick intro tip to Facebook ads. We're going to be diving more along the way, but this is a quick tidbit. When you're using Instagram ads and stories, pay attention to the details and the minutia of using the platform. All right, now let's move forward.
Man, also just to drop in there, man, like tell them how much you spent on Facebook ads in your career.
Way over 6 figures.
Over 6 figures, eh? So
for sure. I would say probably around like over 400.
Yes. 400. Yeah. So guys, when Alex is dropping these tips, man, he's coming from a level of experience, like a professional level, you know?
Most definitely. The difference between opinions and facts is data. You know what I'm saying? Without data, we're just another person with an opinion, you know? So this is not just coming from an opinion standpoint. This is coming from what has happened that I've seen through data over a long period of time, you know, through me meeting with people at Facebook, through my own experience running ads and losing money and gaining more customers for my clients. So yeah, this is, you know, free gems, big gems when it comes to Facebook ads. So yeah, please take that, use it. Let me know if these are valuable to you. You know, make sure you DM us on Instagram at 24/7 Hustler. Let me know what you think. Excuse me, pardon me.
Absolutely, bro. Yeah, man. And let's get into Hustle Nation of the week, man.
Yes, indeed.
So here we go, Mr. Hustle Muscle here on the mic, guys. So listen, you know, the one book I've been reading is Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is such a transformational book that I've just been soaking in all the tips. One of the things that we as humans is we're creatures of our habits. Everything we do, from the time we sleep, the time we wake up, what we eat, how we greet people, everything that you do is a reflection of your habits. And the reason why you form these habits is your brain looks for shortcuts to really not really think to do things, because your brain has to function a lot of things. So it looks for shortcuts to find the easiest and quickest way to do things. So it makes your body remember things and it gives you muscle memory. So that's why when you walk into a room, you don't even think about turning on the lights. It's just like a natural reflex. So as during quarantine, one thing I realized early on is that I was breaking all the habits I had developed early in the beginning. Going to bed late, waking up later, breaking my diet. My workouts were totally off because I can't go to Good Life Fitness anymore. So I had to find a way to improvise my workouts. Luckily, I have a dumbbell and a chin-up bar. So these things really threw me off. But one thing that I've been doing is getting back on track with setting good habits. And setting great habits is one of the key essentials to success in anything you do. in the way you work, in the way you think, how you're going to achieve your goals, from planning to doing anything that you want to do. It's all about the habits. You can have good habits and you can have bad habits. So my message this week is focus on planning good habits. One of the things I've learned is I've always set goals in the past, but goals don't really matter. Goals are the end destination, but the only way you're going to get to those goals is if you set great habits to get to that goal. So if your goal is to make 100K by the end of the year, break that goal into a month and then into a week, into a day. What are the habits that I needed to do to get to $100,000 income a year? Is it like reading? What books do you need to be reading? Is it people you need to be talking to, that you need to be reaching out to? What kind of like daily activities do you need to do to get those, to get that money? If it's losing weight, don't think about, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in the next 2 months. Think about, okay, let me do 5 pounds a week. Let me lose 5 pounds a week. Okay, what are the habits I'm going to need to do? Drink 4 or 5 glasses of water, have a diet, which, I count my macros, and you don't even have to think about it. So you're enjoying these delicious meals. The macros are counted, and all you're just doing is you're following the form, and form follows function. So setting great habits is the key to success. You want to do things that are so programmed into your daily life that they're already taking you to your destination. They're taking you to your goal. And that's the message for this week, guys, is set great habits. If you don't set great habits, naturally your mind tends to develop bad habits because you reach for the things that give you the most comfort. If it's eating chips, eating snacks, it gives you that dopamine hit, like where you feel good about it. So train yourself to set good habits, going to bed early, waking up early, and doing certain things. One of the things I do want to share is I've gotten a great habit of waking up around 6:45, doing yoga at 7. After 7:30, I do a half-hour kettlebell workout. Then with 15 minutes of meditation, then I start my day. So I've been doing this for the past 26 days now. So it's a 30-day challenge. Me and my 3 friends I grew up with, went to high school with, we've been doing together. So I noticed like how I'm being more productive and accomplishing a lot more. So you can just start with one thing just to train your brain, but set great habits, guys. Like that is the only way you can get things done. Is don't think about the end goal, but just think about now and what you can do each and every day to get your mind to get there. So that is the Hustle Nation message of the week. Ow.
Yes, sir. Oh man, just to add on to that, man, I actually just bought Atomic Habits, based on Owen's suggestion, so I'm starting that book off and really diving deep. So I can't wait to report back on what's been happening from following the Atomic Habits.
Absolutely, bro. You're definitely going to enjoy this read, and it's going to be a great one, bro. I'm not even going to say anything else, but you already know how passionate I am about the book, so I'm just going to let you do you.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Let's get into the housekeeping items.
Yep, let's do it.
So, to support the podcast, you have a few options for free. If you're on Apple, make sure to write a review of our podcast. Let me say that again. Make sure to give us a rating and make sure to write a review of our podcast. This makes a huge difference. A lot of our audience is on Apple Podcasts, Apple Music. So make sure you rate and write a review. If you're on Spotify, make sure to follow us and download the podcast. If you're on Google Play, hit subscribe and auto download so you'll be notified when we have a fresh pod ready to go. And also on Instagram, make sure you share the podcast in the stories. Tag us in the stories. We'll make sure to repost you and give us some feedback of the show. This is a conversation. It's not just a one-way dialogue. Let's keep the conversation going on Instagram and follow us at 247 Hustler. That's at 247 Hustler. On Twitter, we're at 247 Hustlers. On Facebook, we're at Hustle Over Everything. That's for our free options when it comes to social and the podcast. On our website, we have a bomb newsletter called the 24/7 Hustle, which covers news and business, music, and culture all through the entrepreneurship lens. When you go to our website, hustleovereverything.co, not .com, .co, you'll see the box to fill in your email. Put your email in there, put a ring on it, and subscribe. Now, for paid options to support the podcast, one is our merch. We have merch on our website, from hats to bags to cups and mugs. Make sure you purchase to support the podcast. And donations is the other option that we have. Our Proud to Pay program is linked in the description below. We appreciate any support. Now let's get back into the show. Man, firstly, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me and not having to have me come all the way downtown in like the middle of things.
Oh my goodness, right? Traveling downtown now would be stressful.
And we weren't on a place to record yet. I don't know where like there's an open room to record.
Yeah, we gotta like go through that whole logistics thing. We used to have a plan of working out of WeSpace. WeWork, sorry.
WeWork, yeah.
Yeah, I used to love WeWork. I actually had a couple offices in WeWork before.
Get out of here. I was looking at that actually. When you had your video, you shot that in the WeWork too, didn't you?
Yeah, which video? There's been so many.
Okay, so I saw two that stuck out to me. One was like a 30-second trailer, and the other one was like a Kickstarter video.
Yeah, the Kickstarter. Both of those we filmed at the La Brea location in West Hollywood, which is like the best place to record videos. Like I love that office, and those people were so cool. Like they even threw a party for me at the end of the Kickstarter. Like it was great. And there's like a nice back patio and all that sort of stuff, and like multiple levels. Like it's proper. But yeah, it's like one of the best places that I've been in to shoot.
So you used to live in LA?
Yeah, so that's where I moved to. Moved here from. There we go. Was from California. So
you're American?
No, I'm Canadian. So I'm actually Calgarian, and left there because obviously. And then I went to LA. For
you don't even gotta explain yourself. Like I already know what that means.
Yeah. And then I was in California for about 4.5 years, and then the universe was like, it's time to come back to Canada. So I came to Toronto, and it's been a wild ride ever since.
Sounds good. So like, I mean, let's get into it, okay. Let's get into the show. So, I mean, of course we have you here to talk about your business and, what you've created. PleaseNotes, starting that, your consulting business. So we really want to talk about that and what inspired you to get that business off the ground. So talk about your main hustle, your PleaseNotes business. How did you start that? And, what really kicked off to make you want to enter that space and go through that journey of building a business?
Great question. So I really feel like it chose me. It wasn't the other way around. It was not like, I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, no. During like my whole professional career, my big thing was I was always a really great general or like second in command. And so I'm really good at rallying for a cause. If I work for you, I'm 150%. Like I take that home, all this other stuff. And then at one point, and it was actually when I was living in Long Beach, I was like, yeah, I'm really done with this. Like, I know if I just got another job somewhere else, I would still feel the same level of like discontent, feeling like I'm not really supporting anyone, that like the stuff that I do isn't really mattering. And I mean, to top that off, like the company that I was working for wasn't successful. And, there was difficult with even getting paid on time. So it's just like, what am I really doing this for? Other than guilt.
Because what's your purpose behind it?
Yeah, right. Like the person that owned it was a friend, but like there was a whole bunch of emotional like trauma with that. So it was just like, why am I doing this? Anyway, so I had quit my job, and then that was really tricky because that's how I had my work visa. So then I had to like leave, come back. And then I was really like, okay, what is it that I actually love? What is it that I actually care about that I could dedicate myself for doing like 3 or 4 years? And, at that time, I noticed like where I was as a person wasn't where I could really support a new idea. Like my self-confidence was like not good. My sense of self-identity was completely gone because I had been so wrapped up in really supporting everyone else. So I had taken the time to just really delve back into my personal growth practice, but not for anybody else but me. Normally it was like, oh, I want to be better at work, or oh, I want to make more money, or oh, I want to be a better daughter. It's like, no, like what is it that I want? And then working with affirmations, journaling, and really getting back to all that sort of magic, it really came up that the thing that I've always loved was personal development. Like I remember going through my first workshop, and then at the end of it, seeing the world with brand new eyes. Like everything was a little bit brighter, and then understanding that my life can consistently look that way. It's something I carry with me every single day. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I love about personal growth. It's like not like you're learning algebra that you maybe use like twice in your life. It's something that you can use consistently in all areas of your life. And when you use it and it's done effectively, you also support the people that you love that aren't really actually doing it. So it's like the gift that keeps on giving. But I noticed, I'm like, how was it so easy for me to forget how amazing that I am, how capable I am, how smart I am, what it was that I really loved. And so I actually wanted to surround myself with affirmations so I can continually see them, right? Because then it reinforces the magic. And then that's when I was like, hey, I think this is my idea. So I ended up making these gorgeous sticky notes that had a different affirmation on every single page. And then the company just kind of grew from there, you know, like I wanted to support people and also understanding that they can have a life that they really deeply enjoy, that you just get to do fun stuff all the time and like go on adventures and just like let good things happen to you.
Yeah. You know, the thing about personal growth is once you really jump into it and you really learn to develop yourself, it's such an infectious energy that just takes over your whole body. I remember, I think I went through a similar transition. Like, you know, I come from like a very like militant household. Like, you know, my parents immigrated here. They really believe education is everything. And they were really forcing me to go into like different careers that are not really meant for me. I was like, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be like a lawyer. That's not really my thing. And, you know, reading about you as well, like I know you've gone through like that whole personal development. You've met people like Bob Proctor, who's one of my biggest inspirations as well. And reading like certain books that just uplifted you, uplifted me, and I'm sure as well for you. What I'm curious is like to learn is like, what are some of those books? What are some of those learning materials that really helped you, you know, put things together that gave you that, you know, positive belief that we talk about like positive affirmation, because positive psychology is like a big thing right now. So what are some of those learning materials that you use to get you to, you know, where you are?
Great question. So the biggest thing that I want to say, first of all, is like, look at the way that you learn. So the majority of people learn and retain the most knowledge when you learn through experiential work. And that was my first dipping into personal growth. Is I actually went to a 3-day workshop through PSI seminars. They have some here in Toronto and like various places all over the world. But like really getting me into having those conversations with myself, like, why am I feeling this way? Or just doing different exercises and learning more about me so that I could actually see where I am and like what I thought my life was like, or the way I thought I talked to myself, were completely two different things. And then of course, adding on to that, then you can start using books, because the thing is like people read books all the time. Like I cannot tell you how many people have gifted The Secret to other people, but have they changed their lives? No, because they've read it, you put it down, and then you're just all like, okay, well now what's next? There's not any sort of tangible changes or accountability attached to it. However, if you are looking for a book after you've invested in yourself with that, with whether it's like an online workshop or something, I love Think and Grow Rich. Mine is actually signed by Bob and Linda Proctor. So like that, Thug Life.
I just bought that book.
Oh,
Think and Grow Rich?
Think and Grow Rich. Yeah, literally the band the Point Hill, right? I literally just bought it. It's so
it's really, really
cover.
It's just
that was like one of the first books I ever read that just gave me like, I don't know what it is. I've recommended it 100 times. I've read the book 100 times. I still read it today. I bought it for my dad actually a week ago, because like, it's down times right now. He needs some inspirations. Like, yo, Pops, like check out this book. And he's been glued to it like for the past week. So yeah, that's like a major book.
Yeah, I love Think and Grow Rich. And I think that the reason it resonates with so many people is because most people are thinking immediately money solves a lot of my problems, and Think and Grow Rich, it's like, okay, boom. And then it opens you up to all the other practices. One of my other most amazing favorites is actually The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein, because it really talks about how supported we are all the time. And for me, like, moving through the world and understanding that like I'm okay, that things are working out, that like everything is falling into place, allows me to do more of the things that I want to do because I know that it's going to work out. And I first experienced that book when I was going through like a really traumatic, like really traumatic time in my life. I will say like I will make a really great Lifetime movie at the end of this. But that particular book like really reminded me of like who I was and what I was doing, and that like I am okay, that allowed me to move through that period with like a relative amount of grace and ease. So
most definitely. With all that personal development, did you end up going to therapy?
You know what? I didn't go to therapy, and that's a very interesting question. And I think with therapy, and at least in my experience, like I don't knock it. Some people need different modalities to move through things, but I think for me, I feel like therapy is very much like, let's go to the past, let's dig this up, let's move through this. But it's not really so much invested in like, okay, yeah, here's the tools for you so that you can feel good within yourself to move through. So like really like you have to keep going back, because like now this person is your person to help you move through things, instead of being like, wait, let me recognize this feeling. How am I feeling right now? What does this actually mean? Do I like this? Do I not like this? What is it that I actually want? Like that critical thinking skills to like build, like break those things apart so that you can feel good within yourself and not really have to have an external person to like get you to a different place, you know?
Got you. Because then that can build like a dependency,
Exactly.
on that person. I actually started seeing that, was that I started becoming like, I've been going to therapy for about like a year now. And I've noticed that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go to therapy. Let me write down these notes. Let me get my shit together.
You're addicted to the therapy, man.
Yeah, it started becoming like a dependency. And I'm like, hold on. But I'm like, how am I doing this on my own? You know what I'm saying? Like, as an adult, you can't be dependent on nobody, I mean, you can, but you can't. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like you need some self-reliance a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So your own self-reliance, So you really have to go to therapy in a way, or whatever like modality I think it was, or to help yourself by by having that critical thinking of, all right, how am I gonna make this work for me? What practices am I actually going to start developing so I can start crafting myself to be the better person?
Exactly.
Dealing with my emotions, the shit I've been through, and moving like forward without letting that hold me back.
And it's interesting because I feel like I love the fact that you are like clearly a Black man that's like, I go to therapy, because I know for myself, like in my family, like this is feelings, we don't do feelings, you know what I mean? Like we don't do all of that. And then especially for Black men, it's just all like, oh, what is that white people shit? And it's just all like, no, sometimes you just need to be heard. And I think that especially for them, it's like there's all these different societal pressures, and just like that's when things bubble up, that's when things fester and you don't move through it. Now, if you're going through to your therapist excited to talk about things, and that's great, because then you're practicing really great skills that make you even better in like relationships and in work and et cetera, et cetera. But I think as long as your therapist is one that is really good at flipping it back at you, and like, they don't want you to be a client for life. Like one of my roommates, she actually was going to therapy, and then she was like, I think I'm done with this therapist. I'm like, oh, well, why? And she's just like, oh, well, they don't really answer anything for me. They just keep asking me questions like, why do I feel this way? And And it's just like, well, that's kind of what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to solve it for you. They're supposed to make sure that you know what to do so that you feel good within yourself. Start trusting your own intuition and your gut, and then act from there. And then she's like, oh, I guess so. So different strokes, different folks.
Yeah, I actually just got my dad into therapy as well too, and it was such a tough conversation to have with him, just because he's had such a tumultuous year. You know, like with COVID, he went through surgery, and that was like a big. So he has to like use like a cushion to sit down. So he has to carry this thing everywhere he goes. So for him to do that, and of course, like everything with his job and his career, it's been like an up and down. And he's like straight from Kenya, you know, like we don't know what therapy is. So me telling him like, yo, pops, I think you need therapy. It's just like, he thinks I'm looking at him as if like he's crazy or whatever. I'm like, yo, no, it's not that. I just think you need to talk to someone. So me being here, we've gotten so much closer just because, you know, I came to my hometown from Toronto, and, you know, talking to him like, yeah, I think, you know, perhaps getting another Black therapist, you know, who can relate to your issues is going to work for you. So his first session is actually tomorrow. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go, just because I feel like he needs it. But I know what you mean, that conversation to get him to that, okay, I need therapy, just to say that, to say, oh, if you think I need therapy, like perhaps you should get me into it. It's like, no, you need to acknowledge it first and then do it. So that was like a first win. So the second win is going to come from him actually going to the session tomorrow. I mean, on Zoom with a therapist, and, you know, working to, you know, clean up the cobwebs that are in his life and in his thinking, and see where he can come up from.
That's great, man. Congratulations for that, man. That's a big win.
That's big props. I'm still trying to get my mom to like do certain things. She just yells at me. So like, it's like, are you trying to tell me about that damn course again? No, mom, I'm asking what you want for dinner. Like, what is it?
Yeah.
So, good job.
Thank you. So getting into your biz, you know, coming from everything, talk about like actually, you know, putting down your thoughts into a business plan and working to where it is today. Like, what were those first steps looking like for you when you were starting out your business?
So, hashtag slightly untraditional. With bearing in mind that I did go to school for business. So like it was kind of like a really nice mix. Before I got the idea for PleaseNotes, I had to ask myself, what did I want from life? Like I had no idea what, like did I want to start a business? Do I want to work for someone? What does my day look like? Like really taking the time to craft that. What do I want to feel? How do I want to help people, et cetera, et cetera. From that, I was able to build on like and create a checklist of like what I wanted. So turns out I did want to have a business. And then I was like, I wanted something that I could run no matter where I am in the world, that I can run from my laptop. I want a product so that I can make money like 24 hours a day, like while I'm sleeping. I want something that means something to me, like that I'm helping people that I care about. And that's something that like was really exciting. And then there was like a couple more little things, but when I finally got the idea for PleaseNotes, I was like, Jesus, because it matched everything. And it's like, so, but if I hadn't done that list, then it would have been like, oh yeah, okay, maybe this is a good thing. But until I got really clear on what I wanted, it couldn't come to me. Then it was super easy from there because I was like very clear about what it was. It was like exciting. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Like working like 14-hour days. I was like, this is so great as I'm doing all of the research. So, you know, like I knew first, like, let's take a look at what else is out there. So I did like a competitive analysis, looking at people's USPs, their unique selling properties, and then like their price points. What are their shipping costs? Where do they ship to? What is their niche? What works and what's not working? And then going into creating like a proper business plan around like, what do I want my product to look like? The price point, where do I want to ship it? Making sure that I had like proper manufacturers and multiple manufacturers, because anything that I do, I'm very clear that it's going to be a big thing, right? So it doesn't make sense for me to look for something that only has the capacity to, you know, like sell 10,000 units a year. No, I need to be able to like work with different manufacturers and be able to sell hundreds of thousands of units every single year, right? Stuff like that, like properties of scale, making sure I've got like shipping costs included, like who is my target market? What is my demographic? What is it the thing that they want that my product is providing? And like crafting that messaging, making sure I had social media set up, making sure that like I was really clear on like the brand vision. And so that when things started to separate from that, I was able to be like, wait a second, this isn't what I want, and then tighten it up and then move forward again. And I think like some people are like, oh, fuck a business plan. I hope I'm really allowed to swear here because like,
yeah, keep it raw and authentic.
I was like, I was all like, there's a couple times where I'm like, but now, okay. But there's like some people that are like, no, you don't need a business plan. But I think the business plan, the process of creating your own business plan just helps you anchor yourself in what it is that you want. So that when you're not doing that, when you're like operating from a space of scarcity, if you're operating from fear, then you're not going to make the same decisions as successful business owners do. So when you're in your power, when you're feeling good about that, if it's different from that, then you know you're on the right track. You're off of the right track. You need to take a step back and then like figure this out. Like let it sit and then come back to it again, right? Only make decisions that feel really good and exciting. But that was my whole process, and like domain names and everybody like PleaseNotes was available. I'm like, yeah, let me snatch this bitch up from everywhere. So I got it. That was great.
All right, so you go to the market now. What was like the first 3 months like? Like, were you actually selling, or is this like the first few people that your family members are buying it, and then you have to like, all right, now I gotta go market hard. Like, what was that launch process like? Did you get any press? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so the launch process was hilarious because this was my first business and it's a product-based business. So once I got everything together, I ordered like, I think I had to get like 500 sets of sticky notes or something like that. And I was like, yes! And I let everybody know like this is here and they're $5 per pad and like pick up the things and they're so cool because of this, this, and this. And like, of course I had shared the process with people beforehand. And then so like when I had them, I'm like, hey, guess what's here? Da-da-da. I've got them with me right here. What kind of card do you have? How can I swipe it? But then I quickly realized probably after, I want to say like 3 months, I'm like, I'm not here to sell sticky notes or stationery. Like I was even at one point and, continually do it where I was like, yeah, I can make custom ones for different companies with like your logos and stuff on them. And then it was just like, this isn't as juicy as it was before. Like, I don't really like this. I'm like, I'm not here to slang sticky notes. And so it was like, okay, well, what can I make that's in alignment with the notes that still serves that same process? And then that was like, let's start building out the brand. Especially since the first product I had bought everything and then therefore I had overhead. So I had to sell all the stuff. I wanted to do it a little bit different.
What was the overhead? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. So like just buying all of the stuff. And then at that time, like I had a pretty big place. And so we were able to store everything in the garage. While after that, then I ended up having to get like an office and like put the stuff in storage, et cetera, et cetera. So at that point in time, the investment was essentially just like the design work that I paid for, websites, et cetera, and then like the actual product itself. But it wasn't really moving unless I was moving it, right? So with the Kickstarter campaign, which is how I launched the second item, the journal, that was really juicy because that was my first time going through an experience like that, creating something that's just so, and anybody that knows me, I'm a little bit extra. So I'm all like, details. I'm going to like slide in little things that y'all don't even know about. You're being blessed in here. Like there's some stuff like there's text that you can't read in certain places that's like, really, it's like a 0.2% font or something like that, where it's like teeny tiny and it's just like a little blessing, or there's sacred geometry worked into it, and like just picking out each affirmation, each inspirational quote from someone that I was like, they started from the same place as so many people and look at what they've created. So like, let this be your example. So like I've got J. Cole in there, Terry Fox in there, Michelle Obama, Serena Williams, like DJ Khaled, like Ash Ketchum. Like it's a mix of different really awesome quotes that are in there. And then just sharing the process of like, hey, this is what I'm building and I'm really excited about it. Be excited with me, or I'd love your feedback on this, and just involving more people in the process. And then that way, when I knew my timeline for my Kickstarter, I was able to say, hey, this is what I'm doing. How many can I put you down for? And then that way, when it starts, I'll let you know and you can buy it right away. And that technique worked really well. I mean, that first Kickstarter campaign, the goal was 10,000 US. I ended up raising 15. And then ended up shipping stuff from Canada, US, Laos, UK, the Caribbean, like all over. And it was just amazing.
A lot of people, like entrepreneurs in the creative space, always want to learn, like launch a great Kickstarter campaign. there's a science to actually succeeding on Kickstarter. It's just not putting your campaign out there. What are like the core principles that you learned that made your Kickstarter a success that you can help other people to perhaps when they think about launching a Kickstarter, they should implement these things?
Yeah. So first things first, I do strategy work. So if you want more help, like come to me, we can work one-on-one depending on like what your actual thing is, your product is. I think one, being able to really communicate why you need people's help and what your product is. I actually, after I released my product, a friend of a friend had made these phone cases made out of some really fancy leather from Africa. And I'm just like, cool, but like, why would I buy this? And he was legit unable to say, like, it just looked like a basic phone case with like this different leather on the back. It wasn't even, it wasn't even nice.
There's no story behind it.
There's no story. It's like, is it supposed to be super smooth? Like, will it get me girls? Like, what are you telling these people? Who are you selling it to? Yeah. And then as a result, like his campaign did not go very well. And then he ended up having, I guess, apparently his dad bailed him out and put a whole bunch of money into his Kickstarter campaign. So whatever. Yeah. So it's definitely tricky, but so making sure you're able to communicate who your USP and why you're different and why you need people's help. I think a lot of people, especially with GoFundMe and Kickstarter, people don't understand what a Kickstarter is. And some people are just like, oh, so you want me to just give you $20? I'm like, no, I want you to buy something from me at a really reduced rate so that you can get something really juicy that's exclusive and you're supporting your friend. That makes sense. If there's a value exchange that works for me, GoFundMes and stuff like that don't really work for me personally. I think also, making sure you've got your community involved and like talking to people, asking for support, and just like reaching out to people. And then also just making sure you've got some organization about it. So Tim Ferriss, the guy that wrote the 4-Hour Workweek, amazing. I don't know if you've heard of, have you heard of Soma?
No, what's that?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just like this really fancy water filter thing. It looks really cool. It's got like coconut shell filter, whatever. It doesn't. Anyway, and right. But they launched this item on Kickstarter, and I think they exceeded their goals within like 12 hours or something like that. But they also had, they actually have templates for the email sequences that they sent out, PR things that they had sent out, talking to media lists and making sure you had like a list of influencers and a list of people that, you could reach out to. And then everything is timed, and so just to make sure you can automate as many things as you can. And I would definitely recommend that, because like if you have people on your email list, you're reminding them, hey, this is what it is. This is when this is done. This is why we need your money. Hey. And then like you're on there, like the last 12 hours, you're like, hey, this is still there. Like, oh shit, yeah, I didn't hear about that until now. Like, let me just keep talking to people. But when you automate it, when you time it, when you organize it properly, it makes it really, really easy for people to just buy into your stuff.
Yeah, Kickstarters are like a monster. It takes like at least 6 months in advance to really, pull off a great Kickstarter. I know a couple buddies of mine, they launched a super cool Kickstarter, but the thing is that the fulfillment of it, because they're selling their products at such an underpriced, they're selling it underpriced, and to fulfill those orders, it's such an expensive item that they delayed their delivery to getting it to their customers who supported them. A lot of people were angry. So this is like the dark side of Kickstarter that people don't really know about. And I found out like the hard way. Just like, I thought about doing a Kickstarter like about 4 or 5 years ago. Then I saw them do it. I was like, you know what? That's a great learning point as well, is you really have to know your unit economics, and you really have to have your production on point before doing anything. Okay, if we get 10,000 orders, okay, this is how much capacity, this is how much extra cash we'll need if we do not meet that. So those are some cool things I learned about watching other people succeed, and the pitfalls that can happen if you succeed at a rate that you were not really expecting to succeed at.
And it's crazy because it's like, you need to figure this out before you let people continue to buy it. You know what I mean? Like you could, it's tricky because you can't shut it down. But no, if I'm not mistaken, you can't just cap how much, if people want to buy it, people want to buy it. But I think that that's the dream. And you want to make sure that if you do have that, that you have, like using a fulfillment company, that you make sure that like whatever it is, like the $4 or $5 it's going to cost you per package to ship, you've already got that handled. Like my first Kickstarter, I totally forgot about fulfillment. I counted how much. I'm like, yeah, no, this is how much it's going to cost me for shipping for all these places. But I forgot. I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to have to do this in my garage. So there's like literally like my living room was full of packages for about like 4 days as I packed all these packages. Yeah, my roommate's dog really hated me for a long time. But like, these are the things that you have to think about. Like, what if you succeed? Well, as you have these stretch goals or as you have these additional goals, like, are you actually able to do that? Or even just like some people will add different things. Like one of the things I love doing is when I hit like 15,000, then I can do 2 different colorways, right? So I'm like, oh yeah, guys, come on, let's hit the 2 colorways. And so it's a really great encouragement because some people are like, yeah, I want a different color, but it's the same cost for me because the internal part is the same, right? So I'm not having to pay anything different. Same thing, like if you're offering like different things you're adding in, you want to make sure that it's super cheap on shipping. So like making sure you're adding in stuff like stickers or a digital download or something like that to offset that. Because like, especially when you start doing all these shipments, especially to like the UK and stuff like that, it's wild. And then they have to pay like VAT and like customs fees and stuff like that too. You want to make sure that it's easy for you and for your people.
Most definitely. I find it usually a challenge to balance shipping to Canada, America, and the US. How do you deal with that and those economics with the business?
Well, at that time, lucky me, I was living in America, and shipping in America is cheap. Shipping to Canada, not so much, but it's still cheaper shipping things from America to Canada than it is the other way around, right? So at that time, I had done like checked it out and said, like figured out like, okay, if somebody buys this unit, this is how much I have to charge for shipping, right? Yeah. So at least that way, and I wasn't eating up too much of that shipping cost.
Most definitely. One thing that really stood out to me when I was going through your website and it's your story is the amount of press you've been able to get. Was that from the Kickstarter, or was that like on a separate note? And like, what was the process of it? It looked like it was strategic on your end. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so that I think I had all of my products out except for like the last year I've released like a couple new ones. But I was just ready. I was like, I'm me being one of Oprah's favorite things is on my vision board. And I felt like I'm ready for like a big sale, like some big stuff to move through. And so I started working with a PR agent out of LA, Ashley Crouch, Appleseed Communications. She is the bomb.com. And I loved it because she had actually released her own journal, but had done so through PR while I did mine through Kickstarter. So she knew who I needed to talk to, the connections, who would listen to my stories and who was interested in and was really able to pitch me and my product. But I think as a result of that, it really came through that it wasn't so much about the product, because I kept really trying to be like, no, don't worry about me. Like, I'm just a person and do cool things, but it's about the product. But what people really wanted to know and what people really resonated with was me and my story and how I created all of these things. So that kind of really supported me in stepping into building more of like a speaking brand, building more of like my own personal brand. And then as a result of that, like both sides of the business has grown.
So your brand, it's rooted a lot in positivity. And, affirmations is one of like the things that you do. Can you talk about like the psychology that affirmations have on you and how they can change your life for the better or for the worse?
Certainly. So if you want to double check it, I have my guided clarity journal, and it actually breaks down affirmations, the root of them, how they work and why they're important. But there's been multiple studies about this. Some of them are like the water studies, or you'll see them where, kids will have one plant named like bad and one named good, and then they'll always say like good things in one plant and like negative things in the other plant, or like you'll have jars of rice and like great things here and horrible things here, and you'll see like tangibly the way that these two substances are reacting to being told positive things and being told negative things. That's the same way we are, right? So and I know for myself, especially before I started this company, I worked for 2 entrepreneurs, and really seeing how their self-esteem, their clarity, how they felt about themselves reflected in their work. So if you're an entrepreneur, you don't have somebody that's in HR that's like, yeah, you're doing a good job, or like a manager being like, here, we're going to give you a raise, good job. And you're like, yeah, good job. You're out here by yourself like, oh my God, did I just fuck this up? Right. So I think just like when you're starting with that business plan, or starting in that point when you're visioning like what you actually want your life to look like, just believing that you can have the things you want is so huge, because unless you believe it, then you can't have it. And it's sad to say, but it's absolute truth. And then like, that's why so many people like they'll win the lotto, and then like 30 seconds later, they're like really broke and like living the MC Hammer life, because you didn't change the way that you believe. You didn't like change it so much that you can hold the things that you want in it. Right. So the great thing about affirmations is you want them to be at least 50% believable, because if they're not believable, then your brain just like totally kicks it out. It doesn't absorb it. It doesn't like believe it. And usually it actually works in your opposition. Like if you're saying, look, I'm a millionaire, and you're just like, no, bitch, like Rogers just called you. Like you're not gonna feel better. You're not gonna attract the money you want. But if you're like,
not gonna manifest it. Yeah.
Right. You're right. But if you're just like, oh, you know what? My wealth is growing. Like things are falling into place. Like I'm receiving more and more money on a consistent basis. Then you'll notice things like you'll find $1 and be like, thank you. Or like, like somebody will buy stuff from you, or like you'll just get a surprise email where someone wants to just use you for a product or whatever, right? But the more you believe it, the more that it comes true, and then the more that you like manifest the things that you want. And of course, it depends on what you want. Like some people really want to have like a really juicy relationship with somebody that's like delicious and nutritious. Some people really want to have like a really good work situation where they're getting the money that they have. They feel really good. They have proper boundaries. They're on vacation a proper amount of times where they feel like they're actually creating real change. I mean, some people just want to have a better connection within like their family, or like to their God, or religious wise. Like there's so many different things. And by us training our brains, our subconscious to have the things that we want, then again, we can have what we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I've been reading all these books, and even in Think and Grow Rich, there's so many, like the self-confidence formula that was like really transformational for me. Like I said it so many times, it's like the way I see having belief in yourself. It's imagine you tell yourself a lie over and over again. There reaches a point where you actually believe the lie. It's like, yeah, like I did this, I did that. And you say it to yourself so many times. It's like, oh yeah, like I am that person. And I did do those things, but you actually look back, it's like, no, I did. Did I really? You actually start questioning your own mind. And it's an interesting thing. You actually brought up like the rice with the positive energy and the negative energy. And also reading a book more about Napoleon Hill and the positive mental attitude with W. Clement Stone. It's like our brains are like a garden, right? If you put positive thoughts in it and you focus your energy like from your core into those thoughts, you actually start seeing them materializing in everyday life. And if you actually the opposite, if you don't put any positive thoughts, or if you're thinking negatively, or you're not thinking at all, it's crazy how bad things start happening. It's kind of like if you don't plant anything, weeds start growing on a garden. So if you don't actually plant positive things in your mind that are productive and they actually push you forward, it's you find yourself being attracted to things that are they destroy your well-being. It's like you're attracted to things that cause disease, and they don't bring you success. They bring you misery and everything like that. So it's like the mind is it's crazy how the mind works, and how having positive thinking attracts the things in your life. Like if you want a BMW and you say, I want to get a BMW, all of a sudden you start seeing a BMW everywhere you go, because your mind only focuses on the things that you're focusing on, and it brings you closer. And it sends you certain things like, this will get you closer to your dream. Let's say if I want to build a business, okay, Cheryl came into my life. She's going to give me the coaching. That's part of like the law of attraction and actually working for you. It's like getting you closer to actually making that dream come true. It's just not going to happen in an instant like The Secret. It takes time, but I think your mind has to be focused on those ends for a long time until you make it happen.
Well, it's tricky because, and I love The Secret. However, it's, especially the movie, it's very convoluted version of the law of attraction. And that's why there's been so much pushback, because people are all like, oh, what, I'm just supposed to think positive things and like, what, take a nap? And it's just like, no, you're supposed to think positive things, get really clear on what it is, steep yourself in it and like the feeling of it, and then you make aligned actions. You don't just feel like, okay, yeah, I feel like, yeah, I really want $1 million. Okay, let me go buy a lotto ticket. No, because obviously you haven't changed your mind about the lotto. Otherwise you would have had the money already. If you feel like you're just like in a really great space, if you're feeling joy, if you're excited about life, you feel really good. And then all of a sudden you're just like, oh yeah, let me just go and go down to the 7-Eleven and get something. And then you're there and you're like, yeah, let me get some chips, like boo, boo, boo. And you're like, a lotto ticket. Sure, why not? Like the guy ahead of me is getting one. Who cares? Da-da-da. It's a fun thing. You get it? That's how people win. Like you don't win because you expect it or because you need it or there's this cloying like resistance against it. Like you win because it's like you're allowing it in. And there's actually this really great book that I read, and I don't remember the name of it. It's so good, but it's literally about this woman that all she did was win the lotto all the time. And she never played like the regular like Lotto Max and stuff like that. She lived in the States, but she would always, like back in the day, there used to be a lot of these like write-in contests, and she's won houses, she won cars, she's won trips, she's won clothes. And not only her, but she's also taught her family how to do it. And it's really about stepping to the space of expectation. If you expect to win things, if you expect to get good things to happen to you, and you have absolutely no doubt, like there's no resistance, then you get them. But that's something you have to practice, allowing good things to happen to you, and then they do.
I agree.
Advice. Yeah,
I agree. Switching gears, man, because one thing I really want to touch on is the resource page that you created. You know, in our recent podcast, Being Black in America, we mentioned it and had it in the link in the description, just as a resource for people to use, you know. And firstly, thank you. You know, I can tell you're working your
you're a
ass
blessing.
off on it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was definitely a blessing. We've put it in a lot of people's hands. So yeah, once again, thank you. You know, can you like walk us through what made you want to get into it? Let's start there.
Yeah, for sure. So whenever there's difficult times, the way that I move through them is by action. And like same thing, like when my dad died, the first thing I was like, okay, well, I have to call the hotel and like cancel this, or I have to like, you know, talk to work and tell them like that I need time off, and then I have to call my mom, and like that's just how I move through things, so I just don't break down. So George Floyd died on the 26th, and then the 27th I had like my first meeting of the day. And of course, you know, as Black people, we see all this stuff all the time, continually, over and over. And of course, I was very clear about not watching the video, because I'm like, this is not like, I'm not going to do that. And, but this one was different. Like, I couldn't just go to this meeting and be like me. I was like really going through something traumatic, and I ended up crying in that meeting. The girl was really nice. I'm really happy about that. She was like, no, it's okay. I'm like, but
okay, no, you can't, don't skip over this. No.
Right?
Break it down. What exactly happened? So is this in person meeting?
No, it was, of course, it's Rona time, so it's Zoom, room, but like, it was just like a random, just networking meeting, and the woman was really, really sweet, and she asked me how I was, and I was all like, honestly, I'm having a really difficult time, and she thought I was talking about like being an entrepreneur during Rona season. I'm like, no, another man got killed yesterday by the police, and she's like, oh, I didn't know you were talking about that. Like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, yeah, no, there's nothing to be sorry about. But like all this like rage and upset and just sadness just bubbled over. I'm like, I don't know how to deal with this right now. And I can't be productive right now. So with that, like at the end of that meeting, and I think I had maybe one more at the end of the day with like this tech organization that I work with. And I was just like, I can't focus on doing this regular stuff. Like I can't focus on like my Instagram feed. Like I don't give a shit about any of this stuff. What I give a shit about is like, I have to do something. And, you know, like, again, talking about aligned action, me being the person that I am, I'm like, how do I support other people the best? So we already know Black people are tired of being asked questions about this shit. Like, Google this shit, right? But what do you say if you just don't have the mental capacity, or like you know, we're still used to like walking on eggshells around people. Like, what do we do? And it's just like, I just want people to be able to flip this link. Here, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And then choose your own adventure. There's podcasts, there's terms, there's like videos you could watch. There's like, just like readings and articles, and like depending on what way you like to learn, there's everything right there. And for me, like, I'm really grateful because I was like, I want it to be really big and exhaustive, just not like a resource list, but something easy to share. People can click, you know, maybe even make a book club and be all like, yeah, let's just go through some of these. What are my resources for kids? Like, how do I teach my kid about like other kids saying the N-word? Like, I'm not here for that. I don't know how to do that. I don't have no kids. Like, how are you gonna come to me for that? Can't help you there.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
but like, if I could create something where it's like, this is where you can start just learning, where you can donate, where you can, you know, start doing something. You could petition, whatever form of action you feel you needed to do, then you could do. So I started to lay it out, and then I have an amazing group of people, and it was just like a music like WhatsApp group where we would like arrange going to different events, and then now we're all like revolutionaries in this group. And it's so
within a few
like,
days.
Yeah, we're all having conversations about like, look what this person did, and like check out this position, and like, oh my god, like da, 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 and like just putting it all together and just being like, look at it, and here's the things. And then I also like got some of the interns from Wonder Woman Tech were able to support with building it out as well, and just like continually adding more things. Like, I have people sending me stuff and all the time, and just like putting it in as much as possible, because I think there's a lot, and it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen like a week from now, but you know, being able to tell white people like, there's a lot you need to learn, and it's not like there's going to be a test next week, but you need to learn this stuff gradually so it stays. Like, it's not like a quick fix diet where you're just not going to eat for a week and then now you're not going to be racist. No, you're going to have to like, bitch, this is a long-term ride. Like, we going, you know what I mean? Like, hop on, and then just like, you know, take the time and empower it. And that's one of the things that I did in this live today, is having this conversations with white people and doing it in a way where both people can be seen as people versus one white and one black. Like, these are people, like, everybody's going through grief. Everybody's having to change the way that they see themselves. And I don't know, it's just so important to see and support other people in a way that feels good to you in making the change that you want.
Speaking about everything that's going on, you've recently, you spoke about the Sasha Exeter incident.
Oh, that post was lit.
That just happened. So, you know, for our listeners, like, you know, we're going to give you a chance to talk about it, you know, what you saw, what went through your mind, and executing that post that really, like, you know, it spread like across the social media stratosphere like crazy. So talk to us about that. Like, how was that, like, you know, when you saw that?
Real quick, if you haven't known what happened, go Google it and come back.
Hey, yeah. Basically, well, like Cole's Notes version, but for real, Google it. Like, there's levels. But Cole's Notes version, basically, this white woman that is in a huge position of power, connected politically, in like to so many different things, thought that one of her black influencer friends was calling her out and made it her thing. Like, oh, why are you attacking me? It's like, bitch, this post wasn't even about you. I'm calling on everybody that has a platform to say something. And then she actually went and like threatened her livelihood, and like, you know, like went to all these places and be like, don't work with her, and like threatened a lawsuit, and then got called out because we've got receipts. Like, it's not like you called this girl on the phone and said, I'm going to do this. You sent her messages, bro. So she was dumb, first of all. But that's just so bold, and how people are. They're just feeling like, oh, you know what? I can do this things. I can run this. I can treat people like garbage, and that's okay. Anyway, so long story short, that blew right the fuck up in her face. She lost all of her jobs, all of her endorsements, like her husband's in hiding, like all these different things. But I mean, like, some people are like, this is distracting from the Black Lives Matter police brutality thing. However, I feel like there's so many different layers of racism. And for me, being a woman, experiencing and seeing this so many times, I was just absolutely sick of it. And I was like, I have to say something. I have to say something because like, I feel like there's nobody that's really breaking this down into why this is so problematic on so many levels. It's not like she just bullied her. She like threatened her and her family and her livelihood and trying to get her blackballed. And like, if you've seen, I think it's Dirty Money or like American Greed, something along the lines of that on Netflix. There's so many stories about how they do this to Black and brown people where they'll speak up. Like there's this one story about this woman, I think it's Wells Fargo she was working for, and she just noticed how like they were mistreating or they were charging people different prices or interest rates, and then like really forcing people to open up all these bank accounts, just doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And she talked to her manager, and her manager's all like, yeah, okay, we'll take a look at that. Then she was fired and not allowed to be in any sort of financial services business forever. But the thing is, she loved her job. She loved what she was doing. She was taking care of her family. Like this was her American dream. And somebody just decided, you know what? You don't deserve this because you're talking too much. Like this is just ridiculous. And this is like something, and people just don't understand it, especially white people don't understand it because they've never experienced that, because they don't have to worry about that. Like I actually put in the post, statistically, white people, especially white women, are more believable than evidence. Like a man can be all the way at the next side of the place, and then, you know, some old white woman will be like, that man accosted me. And he's like, who the fuck is this bitch? Dead or in jail for like the rest of his life, right? Like people just really don't understand the gravity of like fucking up people's lives with this. Like we see it all the time, especially with like football players that used to get accused of like raping or like attacking women. And then after they're just like, oh, well, I'm sorry. Like I was looking for attention. It's just like, I was supposed to go to college. I was supposed to take care of my family. I've been working so hard for this dream, and you just decided to take that away. And like, you see so many videos of like these parents just like laughing while this person is finally like getting their justice. And just like, what is wrong with you? Like, you really don't even see me as a person. And this is like, I think I'm really lucky because I have amazing people that follow me. Like my following in the last 2 weeks have gone up over like, I want to say like 3,000 to 4,000 people. And they're all really clear about taking care of one another, being responsible, and like helping people. And if I can get these people that are clear about there's a problem, it needs to change, and I'm ready to learn, to see how deep this issue is and how it affects Black people in so many facets of their life, then like that's my change that I could do. Because then like the ways that they're opening up their eyes, like I just don't believe that people have not been able to see this for so long, but here we are.
And the crazy thing is, when it happens, it's like your life, you can't even salvage it to get it back to where it was, right? There's so much damage that happens. It's like, can't get back into my career, whether it's in entertainment or sports. All my brand deals are gone. Like you start from scratch and you're like, okay, what the hell? And that was a lie. And people still treat it as if it's true. So, I mean, it's just that accusation, it kills, like, it's like a ripple effect into your whole life. And even like it leaves it like an imprint for years, you know?
Years. And for me, like, it was so heartbreaking when she was doing a video the next day talking about how her parents were watching all the videos and looking at all the comments, and just they were so worried that she was going to get backlash, because normally as Black people, when you speak up against racism, we are the ones that receive the backlash. And people just like, well, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does. If you live in the world that we live in, you know this, right? And I think like the fact that it was just so boldly done, there were so many receipts, and yet there are still women flooding Sasha's page saying like, you're just jealous, or like, why would you do that to her? There's so many people on like what's her name's page who are like, oh, it's okay, we forgive you. And just like, bitch, who are you? You have no reason to forgive this person. Did she screw you over? Did she almost end your life and your livelihood? No. So why are you trying? Oh, we forgive Jessica, you're the best. No, bitch. Like plain as day, this is what happened, and you're still out here just like chilling. Anyway, that's my diatribe. I'm just, that was a wrong question. That was just the worst.
100%.
Oh man,
Oh,
100%.
heavy, you know, and it's been used like historically for so long. Like if you look back at like the Tulsa, Oklahoma bombing, you know, it was literally a massacre based off one white woman.
Mm-hmm.
Insane.
Emmett Till, one white woman.
Insane.
Like,
mm-hmm. I'm just saying, like in terms of scale, like the people, a massacre of multiple people.
Yeah.
What? It's insane.
Yeah. I was gonna say as well, like there's like one interview, Julie Black. You know, you guys know Julie Black, singer songwriter.
Yeah,
She's
from Toronto, fam.
I actually worked with her on a couple projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shout out Julie Black.
Julie Black. Yeah, I love her energy, man. But she did like that Jeannie Becker interview, like where she was like talking.
Oh yeah.
And then Jeannie Becker's like, "Why are you attacking me? I don't know." You know, it's like that that victimhood. Like they always play, like, you know, like they say something, then you come back, you're like, not she's the victim. You know, it's just crazy how that happens, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I realized, that a lot of times the delivery, even though what we're saying is 100% credible, just our delivery can make someone feel like they're attacked. And that's one thing Shasha did that was actually very credible and very very commendable of her. She spoke in such a calm and level tone that made it so palatable to anybody who was listening, you know, that it was almost irrefutable, you know? And I realized a lot of times when we're trying to defend ourselves, the way we speak, which is so frustrating, because we're just speaking passionately, and then we get looked at as attacking it just because of that passion.
The aggressor.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's the other race, it's just like, they're just talking with passion. They're not being aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there was a study, and it was talking about, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was really down to like, based on your background, you have different nuances, right? So you're going to, like a Chinese person that's speaking in English is going to communicate differently because like they have different inflections, like they're just like their volume, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing with Black people. Like, you know, when we laugh loud, like there might be some running involved, et cetera, et cetera. Like we just like our culture allows us to communicate differently. And when it comes to our fair-skinned brothers and sisters, that because they've never had to see through any other lens than their own, they get like really wild, like they don't understand it, they get frustrated, they get angry, they feel like they're being attacked, when it's just all like, if you were a Black person, or if you knew Black people, or if you hung out with Black people, you'd be all like, oh yeah, okay, cool, that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. But like we have to like convey things in a certain way. Same thing when people are like running away from police or having a confrontation with police. It's just like, you have to understand people are running away because they know if they get in the back of that car, they're probably not coming out again, right? So like, even when we're having conversations, being like, oh yeah, this is how it is. And if I'm loud, then they're like, you're escalating things. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just saying what's up. You know what I mean? But they take it a different way.
Yeah. Let's talk about actions for white people. So one of them, of course, was the Unlearn resources that's going to be linked in the description down below. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm locking that to my clipboard.
Oh wow! I hope you're using the Bitly link, because like,
yes, I'm using the Bitly link.
I saw you tweeted me. I saw you tweeted me about that was me. Yeah, I gotta change it to a Bitly link, Cheryl. So I got you.
So you can keep tracking it and be like, all right, it's coming from Twitter. It's coming. Yeah. But yeah, the Bitly link will be in the bio. You know, thing is, heads up though, the Bitly is cool, but there's one thing that you should know is that when you can add the plus sign to Bitly and like see the traffic on the actual page. So like, the thing is, you're not really competing with anybody. But just if you're ever like consulting anybody, you know. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
If I click the Bitly,
if you add a plus sign to the link on the Bitly link, then the entire link will open up, the backend will open up, and you'll see the data of that Bitly link.
So at the end of the link, like the very last letter, you put a plus to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Interesting, because I just logged into it now, and it's telling me like there's like a gang of people from Canada, US, and then the UK that use it, but the majority of Canadians. So like as of right now, there's over almost 5,000 people that have clicked on it.
Jeez.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, I just clicked on it.
But there's so many people that are sharing it without the Bitly link that I'm just all like, come on, guys. But I mean, I get it.
Yeah. You know what it is that they'll click it once, then it needs copy and paste it and keep it moving.
Exactly.
Yeah. But all right, working towards wrapping up. What are some action items what people can use? Because a lot of times I feel like, especially now, I think especially on one of your lives as well, is that they're coming around there like walking on eggshells. You know, I don't know how to really address things. You know, one thing actually we talked about in a previous podcast with the COO or CES, I believe, of hashtag paid. We'll drop that soon. Is that he doesn't really know what action to take or how to approach it with somebody without seeming insensitive. You know,
And he's white.
He's a white male, yeah.
White male. You know, one thing I said, and appease, you know, maybe I don't have the tools either, is it's like, hey, asking someone, hey, how can I help? You know, keeping it very easy, and you're not trying to Tyler Perry their way in, you know, or you know how some people do, like, hey, have you watched this Tyler Perry movie? I love it. Oh my gosh, you know.
No, we're not doing that.
Yeah, no more of that, people. Please don't come to me talking about Blackish. Or
Black AF.
Or Black AF.
I can't stand Black
don't come
AF.
to me talking about Black AF, please.
Please don't.
Anyways, but yeah, action items for our Caucasian white folks.
I think it's kind of like along the lines, if you want to learn algebra, you go to school or you look it up. So research, do your own research. Don't ask your Black friends for support with this. They're dealing with enough right now. They're dealing with like hardship and like sadness and guilt and worrying about being outside a lot of the times. So just research. Secondarily, if you do offer your services, I feel like don't offer them from guilt, offer them from authenticity. So I've had a bunch of people slide my DMs or like, I love what you're doing. I'm a lawyer. Can I offer this to you? And I'm like, yeah. Or like some people are like, oh, I do Pinterest marketing. Can I support you with this? And I'm like, yeah. But like, if you're coming from that place, like if you already do something and you're just able to support another person by doing what's in your zone of genius, and that works deliciously. Also, if you ever get a chance to watch Ernesto Ceroli, his TED Talk is amazing. But he was an aid worker out of Italy, and they used to come to places like the Amazon, all these different places, and be like, hey, this is what you guys need to be better and like not a third world country. And the people are like, no. And they're like, don't worry, we know. And then they get flooded out and lose like thousands of dollars worth of like equipment, et cetera, et cetera. But it really comes down to the fact that in order to help somebody, you have to ask them what they need. It's like, you know, if you have a homeless person and you're just all like, they're asking you for money and you're like, no, but I have food instead, or like, no, here's like a face mask. It's just like, well, that's not what I want. When you're saying like, I'm not going to give you money because you're going to do bad things with it, then you're taking away from that level of how do I say it comes off as elitist, like you're not actually there to help people. So if I was having a conversation with a friend about this because her company really wants to support a lot of these Black businesses, and I'm like, ask them what they need, like even do a poll and like the top 5 things are what you guys are going to do, and then people can choose into what they want, whether it could be money. It could be access to different circles of influence. I know for myself, like I feel really lucky because I had a decent amount of money to buy myself into different social circles that other Black people were not in. I had the opportunity to go to different pitch events that other people were not there because I was in these different groups, right? So just even offering like those sort of things. Some people need help with their website. Some people need help with marketing. Some people just need help with like logistics and like money and like really SEO. So just ask what people want. And then, you know, you be able to provide it for them if you're in that space. And then I think the most important thing is like to listen. I've had some people slide into my DMs and tell me the way that I'm using Karen is wrong. And I'm just all like, what are you talking about? Oh, Karen isn't rooted in racism. It's rooted in this. I'm like, okay, but this is how we use it. And this is how it has been used. And I'll like screenshot some articles, like email, like send like Instagram, like videos and all that sort of stuff. And she's like, yeah, I'm not going to look at all of that, but this is what it is. I'm like, why are you here? Are you actually here to listen to me? Are we actually having a discourse? Are you like what is this? Like, are you just, and then so I had to gather her in a voice note and be like, listen, you're trying to tell me what I'm saying is wrong, but I'm telling you that it's not. And then you're telling me that like I'm unclear on things. So what are you actually trying to do here?
Transfer energy.
And then I think she got it. She's like, oh fuck. Right. But unless people are able to listen, then it doesn't make sense. Like, take for example the whole Kayla Gray situation. Did you guys hear about this?
I saw her Twitter, and there was some guy called Tim.
Tim.
Yeah,
Chad.
man.
Jesus.
Yeah. But can you tell the story?
Yeah, please.
Just so like, I mean, I know it, but I can't really articulate it in a way that I know the full background and everything.
I'm completely green.
Okay, come closer. So
moving close to the mic. Yeah.
Basically what had happened was this woman who works for TSN, and I'm not too sure if she's like a broadcaster, et cetera, but she's in a position of public, obscure, like people see her. And somebody else at TSN, who is a white woman that's married to a black man, decided to write this Medium article or something about her experience of having her racist parents, dealing with her husband, and like in this whole thing, she's like, oh yeah, I'm coming and I'm understanding what it's like to be like having black kids and blah blah blah. I shouldn't have done that voice, sound like an asshole, but whatever, I did it. So but the thing is, she used the words, the N-word spelled out fully twice in it. And so this woman, Kayla, who is black, was like, hey, like, don't use the N-word. We don't do that. Like, at least like, you don't, like, there was no need for it, right? And then apparently her husband was like, oh, well, like, I support her and her story and blah, blah, blah. But then this man named Tim, like, writes this open letter to TSN and her coworkers and all this about how she was being divisive and how she was like not listening to her, and like so many people positively received this message, but this Kayla person just decided that she was going to be blah blah blah. And it's like, what is going on here? You're telling me that this white woman's experience of racism against black people is more important than this black woman's experience of racism? Like, we can't be here talking about how we need to learn from one another, how we need to change things, how we need to update things, when she's clearly trying to help you by telling you, hey, this isn't cool. And you're just all like, you're being divisive. What is this bullshit? So basically that's how that played out. So Tim went on this tirade. It was like 7 or 8 different tweets, then locked his tweets so nobody can reply back to him. And everyone's just like, what is wrong with you? So that is the dilemma.
Yeah, I saw the support Kayla got. Like, everybody was rallying behind her. And just like, as everybody, like, she's like a big Raptors reporter, and I followed the Raps and everything. So just seeing everybody from the industry back her, that was like awesome to see. And even Camille Dundas from Buy Blacks, she wrote like a big post about it as well. That was cool to see with the media
Camille?
supporters. Yeah, Camille. She's always on top of things, so big ups to her. But yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, this is something we just continue fighting every day, man. I don't know when it's going to end, but as much as I have faith that we'll get through this, I just don't know how that you can get someone else to change their way about things and actually want to help. It's like one thing to actually say, hey, I understand where you're coming from. It's easy to say we're supporting injustice and, we're in solidarity, but, make the changes in your boardrooms, in your workforces, and actually do what you're saying, and not just actually feel the pressure of saying I'm with your movement and just
not do anything. Yeah, no, totally. I hear that. And I think the most important thing for white people is to actually like just keep, it's going to be fucking messy. You're going to get some shit wrong. Some people are going to yell at you. It's fine. But like, this needs to be done. For me, I keep thinking about, what do I actually want at the end of this? I want somewhere where everybody is equal, but everybody's differences are really like lauded and everybody enjoys them. Like, they're like, oh yeah, you're from here, like I love your food. Like, it's not this whitewash, like everybody's the same, everybody, like it's not a melting pot. It's like, I'm enjoying this, I'm hot, like I love this part of your culture, I love the fact that you're queer, I love the fact that you're bi, I love this and this about you, and really giving everybody the opportunity to enjoy it, right? And I think with that comes this work of unlearning that people that are in privileged positions did not know was happening, like that needed to happen. I love this defund the police. Like I had written a diatribe about like having police oversight committees and every country that had colonialism having to have like a certification and like an independent board to like handle all these things. Let's just defund the police because the police doesn't work. They're not working. Like even their roots, they're not working. Like you're bringing them here to deal with issues that stem because people are not being taken care of. And then more people just keep not being taken care of, and therefore you need more police. But why don't we actually make sure that people are getting the care that they need, and then therefore there's less need for police, and at least like have properly trained police, like police that are actually able to see when people have a mental illness, how to deal with them, or like how to take care of somebody that's like, there's so many people that are like deaf or whichever, and they're like, they can't hear you when you're yelling at them to like do something, but unless you're smart enough to notice that, then you're going to end up hurting someone that doesn't need to be hurt. You know, there's just so many levels to it.
I think what we need to do is like make it harder to become a police. Like totally. I think I saw like the hours needed. It's like 800 hours to be like a police. You need to do that. It needs to be like a lawyer. It needs to be like, okay, you do your schooling, you do the postgraduate, you do this, then you have to pass this exam. Like I think there needs to be a lot of hurdles to become a cop. And I think once that's there, you actually, I can't really say it's going to work, but I think you weed out the people who are just in it
for the power.
For the power, right? And actually people want to serve. And I think if you set up a program that puts a lot of hurdles together, like becoming a lawyer, I mean, it takes like how long to become a lawyer? Like 6-7 years, you know, undergrad, law school, master's or whatever. I mean, 7 years. I think you should do that for such a career that protects people and can potentially kill people at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, it kills me that if you're a TSA agent or like Border Patrol, do you know how long those people have to go to school for?
Yeah.
Something like 3 or 4 years, something like that. And I was just like, really? But you make good money, understandably. But like the thing is, like, why do we have this level of, you know, training when it comes to that, but not to the people that are here, like serving people on a day-to-day basis? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. So, okay, I have a bit of an opinion on defund the police. I think it has probably the top 5 worst marketing like phrasing behind it, because when people see the word defund, they think of getting completely rid of, abolish, take out the police completely. Even Donald Trump is leveraging that miscommunication to say, no, people are crazy. They just want to get rid of the police altogether. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying that the police is overfunded and needs to be taxed. There needs to be an audit of all the money. You know how much money the NYPD has as a budget?
No.
$10.9 billion.
Wow.
Billion. Not surprised.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about. Not as me, but that's what a lot of the.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work that. Let me take a second. All right.
That's what we're talking about. Like, it's overfunded and it's not solving the problem.
Exactly. So it's diverting some of those dollars to actual things that can make an impact, so the police won't be needed. Just like you said, and that communication is not being deployed. You know, so people are just getting defund the police. What the hell are these liberals talking about? You know what I'm saying? That's the message that they're getting, and it's a strong miscommunication that politicians are leveraging to go the exact opposite way. You know what I'm saying? So it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. There needs to be like a rephrasing of it, like specialize the police. I think was mentioned on Andrew Schultz's show, The Flagrancy. Maybe audit the police, or like special. Oh no, yes, specialize. Maybe police control, or pivot the funds. You know what I'm saying? Like there needs to be a rephrasing of
like
the terms.
Properly fund the police versus defund. Something along those lines.
Yeah, properly fund the popo. You know what I'm saying? Like something with a ring to it.
I feel you, bro.
So we can really communicate what's really going on, and real change that can happen, actual actionable insights.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same way that people feel about white privilege.
Yeah.
Now, I understand white privilege and the invisible backpack, as I'll also say, but when a white person whose first response is to be super defensive, they're like, I'm not privileged. Like, I had to struggle for things. And, you know, like, my mom was poor. My dad beat us. It's like, yo, we're not saying that bad shit didn't happen to you. It's saying that you actually have a different level of life because you don't have, like, black skin. You're not being held back because of the color of your skin. So I think that is one of the trickiest one. All lives matter versus Black Lives Matter. Like, you're an asshole if you think like you're like feel good about. There's been so many videos, so many diagrams. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that little ad, like the little cartoon with the houses burning. It's just like, if they don't, it's like, if you don't know it now, then it's just like you're playing with your own emotions. Like, you really just don't care. But like, white privilege is something that I would love to play around with and change the verbiage we use around that.
Yeah. You know, it's the communicating better. You know, so yeah. But anyways, working towards wrapping up here. Anything else you want to cover? Anything else you want to speak to? You know,
for me personally, I think I'm loving this conversation and where it's going. But for me, how I could be supportive, if there's any white people listening that are like, hey, Cheryl, here's some finances. I'd be like, what? Thank you, Tim. I will take those finances. No, but what I'm looking for really in my business is to support people in, I guess, seeing more people of diversity in spaces where we belong. Let's say, for example, a lot of these places that'll have workshops, or like, especially these women empowerment events, et cetera, they'll have like maybe one Black person, maybe one Asian person. And then there's very few Black people there because they feel like they're not needed there, like they're not wanted there. It's not a safe place for them. So having more Black people on panels, having more Black people on speaking events, and I'm amazing. Obviously, you want me, book me.
She's not a mean girl.
No,
she's not one of those woman empowerment mean girls.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I'm
Let's
here.
not say that.
Yes, I'm not going to appropriate nobody's culture. I'm here to give you straight facts. So that, and then and doing more workshops, that's been really fun. So doing a lot of corporate workshops. And then, of course, buy my products. I've got some really juicy workshops that are coming up, whether it's my journaling workshop, my gratitude workshop, but like start your personal development journey with like the super cheapest way that you can, if that's an issue for you. And that's why I love my journals, because you get so much juiciness. Like, even if you're reading a book, you actually applying it and writing and journaling and getting clear on what you want and allowing it to happen to you, whether it's like a gratitude journal, a manifestation journal, a clarity journal, or a gratitude journal. Wait, did I say gratitude, right? The dream journal. Like, whatever it is that you want to create, there's so many tools out there, especially tools that I've made that will support you in that. So get one for your friend, get one for a couple other people, buy some for your company. I mean, I do wholesale rates. Like, let's go and like change the world together.
Most definitely.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Ooh, I was gonna say a song and then I forgot the song. I was so excited. And then like Hotel from R. Kelly came up and I was like, no, that doesn't work. Anyway, yeah, I was like, there it is.
Think of the song now.
It's Holiday Inn.
Yeah, you can find me at the
Holiday
Inn. No, people can find me on Instagram. So it's right. It's Instagram. It's PleaseNotes Goods. It's all one word. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's just Cheryl K. Sutherland. And the most boring version of that name spelling is how you will find me. And then if not, on my website, www.pleasenotes.com or CherylSutherland.com if you're looking to book me for speaking or training or all that sort of magic.
Amazing.
Sounds good.
Affirmation. Yo, we have some link below. Just trust me, we got you. And once again, of course, the Unlearn resources will be in the link below. You know what I'm saying? So that wraps up the pod. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Please go catch some merch. You know, I'm rocking the Hustle for Everything cap.
Exactly,
man. This is becoming my standard now. This is going to become like my new aesthetic.
Your new look.
You know we should get you a little shirt.
Oh, for sure. Oh no,
I
it's in
didn't
the
get my.
mail.
Usually, I have my Manifest Magic shirt and my Manifest Magic hoodie on, and I'm like, buy
Yes.
my stuff. But you know, it's okay.
I had my shirt. It's in the laundry. I've been wearing it every day, like for the past 2 weeks. It needed to be washed, and then 45
Nobody could
minutes.
smell you through this. You should have worn it.
45 minutes before this, I was like, yo, let me go check if it's dry. Then I feel it's still damp, and I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna be able to go on camera with the shirt on. So, but yeah,
Put it in the microwave next time.
Put it in the microwave.
You put it in the
Quick
microwave.
fix.
Wow.
Yeah, put it in there for 30
My mind
seconds
is blown.
at a time. Yeah, honestly, I microwave a lot of clothes. But yeah, microwave it as long as it doesn't have zippers. Microwave it for like 30 seconds. Then like let it out. It'll just steam up. Let all the water out, and then just microwave it a little bit more, and then let it air dry because it gets all hot again. Better than putting it in the dryer again, because the dryer will take a while to heat up. And there's a lot of electricity, and black people are gonna yell at you for that if you have parents in your house. So like, it's just easier if you microwave your shirt.
That is so interesting.
I did not know that. That is a gem.
Yeah, that's a big gem. Most definitely.
I mean, I've used it a couple times before going to work, and you know what? It happened. Okay, it happened.
How much time do you put it on for? You put it on like a minute and a half?
It depends on not a minute and a half. I've only done it with like 30 seconds at a time, or like 15 seconds at a time, because it'll get hot, it'll start to steam, and then you want to let the steam out, because if you keep it in the microwave, or then it'll start to melt and deteriorate, right? So just bring it out and like let it breathe, and maybe put it in a little bit longer, and like you'll be able to play with it and tell. But I love especially using it for swimsuits when you're like, oh, I washed this, I'm already in a really humid place, and it's just not dry yet. So my mom was so mad at me. I microwave my bathing suits all the time when I'm in the Caribbean, and then be like, yeah, I'm ready. So yeah, microwave your out.
Genius.
I mean, I am. What can I say?
That's big.
Yeah, that's big level. What a way to end the pod.
What a way.
I know.
And then with a bang, bro.
You know?
Or with a beep, you know, like beep.
Oh my goodness. Nothing but big gems over at Hustle Nation, fam.
Oh my
All right, guys, thanks once again. We're out.
Cheryl, thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having me. This was so juicy. Such a great time. I'm glad that we did this when we did versus earlier.
Absolutely. All right. Sounds good, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.
Bye.
Peace.